Good morning, my friends. This is David Ivry, and today we are going to be taking a walk in a town in the Samaria or in the Benjamin region. I'll explain about that more. That is called Eli. So it's been a while since we've been in the Samaria, in Judea and Samaria. In the Samaria, we'll talk about the differences in between those two. We've done a lot of videos in Jerusalem recently. Today we're going to take a walk in Eli. I hope that you have subscribed. Check the notification button. I would appreciate that. And send in your comments about the videos. All right, let's set out and take a look in it. So here, as you can see, is a playground. It's about 10:15 in the morning, so there are no kids here. The kids are in school, but you can hear some kids behind us in the basketball court. This is a neat playground. You could say in the center of town, but there are a bunch of different centers in the town of Eli because it's a very large town for this area. There are about 5,000 residents in Eli, which is about 1,000 families. This is a community events hall, and behind it is a green park, and there's also a swimming pool here. Here we see parking for disabled and also a parking spot for shared cars. The green is for shared cars, which means for a rent-a-car system. And that's very convenient. The rent-a-car system works on an app which you can download to your phone. You can sign up, have an account, and you can rent a car automatically through the app. You don't need to go to an office. You can just see on the map. There's probably a Google map or something like that on the app where you can see where there are cars available that are parked, and you can reserve that car and go over and pick it up. This playground that we started off is in memory of Yafa and Nahum Shoham, Ohavei Eretz Israel, and it was donated by members of their family. Here's a bus stop in the center of Eli that there are buses here to and from Jerusalem, typically passing through Eli and ending up in Ariel. The signs here in Hebrew, this directs us to the different neighborhoods in Eli. Bnei Eli is a yeshiva, a pre-military yeshiva, where boys post-high school spend some months to a year studying and preparing themselves for their 3-year military service. And there are directions. The bright orange is the Merkaz Lev Eli, that's the commercial center and some offices. And then 4 neighborhoods in blue, Nave Shoham, Palgei Maim, Nof Harim, and Hayovel. This sign, Yad Sarah, if you are not familiar, is a association, a organization that provides medical equipment. It lends out medical equipment. So they have a presence here in Eli, and that is a great service for the community where people can go and get medical equipment, and I think it's at no charge or very symbolic amount. And of course they operate based on philanthropy. So people who use their equipment or people who wish to assist people who need this assistance can donate money to their organization. The town of Eli is about 40 years old. It was established around 1980. Now you can look that up, and if you find a different number, you can let me know in the comments. Do you know what the town of Eli, where the name Eli comes from? Think about that. And we'll talk about some other things in the meantime. If you know the answer, you can write it in the comment section. That's a very large town in area size. If you see the red roofs to our right, and then there's a hill behind them, if you notice that there are houses on the top of that hill, that is Hayovel neighborhood. That's a neighborhood of Eli. And there are other neighborhoods. That neighborhood is in the southeast of the town. Now getting back to our question, what is Eli named for? We are just northwest of a town called Shiloh. And Shiloh is a biblical location. It is the site of the biblical tabernacle, the place of worship, the temple of Israel. Here in the opening we can see a Shiloh between these buildings. We're going to cross over, which is very, very quiet and not too much traffic, so I allow myself to cross over with no crosswalk. And here, pretty cloudy today, so we can't see, but right in front of us is we can see the town of Shiloh, and then closer to us, the site of the historical Tel Shiloh, the Shiloh archaeological site. And that is the site of the tabernacle. There was a priest whose name was Eli, who was in charge of the temple, the tabernacle at Shiloh. So this town is named for the priest, who in Hebrew we call him Eli, and in English his name might be pronounced Eli. So this could also be Eli, and you can look that up in the Bible, in the book of Samuel. Samuel 1, we're told the story of a man whose name was Elkanah, and he had two wives. One of his wives, Hannah, had no children, and Elkanah would take his family, his two wives and his children from his first wife, and they would go on pilgrimage to Shiloh, to the tabernacle, to the Mikdash, to the Mishkan. And Hannah prayed to God to have children. And ultimately she was blessed with a child. Her child who was born was named Shmuel, and he became Samuel the prophet. And the book of Samuel is about the story of Samuel the prophet. But of course it mentions Eli HaKohen, or Eli, the high priest of the tabernacle. see. Okay, now I almost got run over. So, can men do more than one thing at the same time? You can write your thoughts on that in the comment section as well. But that was very nice of the woman who was driving there, who was considerate, and let me pass. This is a memorial to a woman whose name was Gila Sarah Kessler, who was a resident of the town, Gila Sarah Kessler, and she was killed in a terrorist attack 20 years ago on the 19th of June 2002 in the French Hill in Jerusalem. This is a rakefet. I haven't yet remembered how to pronounce the name of this flower in English. But you can write that in the comment section. I'd be glad to hear your comments on that. The bus is coming from a neighborhood up on the hill. It's a very spread out town. You can drive for 15 minutes from one neighborhood to another in the town of Eli. And here's the back of the commercial center. We're going to walk around the commercial center to the other side and just get a look at some of the stores that we can see there. You can see another neighborhood on the top of this hill. Let's walk over, we'll cross the street, but this time carefully, pay attention that we're not walking into traffic. Then cross over this way also. Did you see the sign that said Amihai Way? Let's look at this memorial. Here it says in Hebrew, Derech Amihai, Vaya Shem Maslul V'derech, V'derech HaKodesh Yikarala, in the book of Isaiah 35:8. Derech Amihai. So this path was named for Amihai, and here we have a memorial sign that is also in English. So let's see what it says. It says in English, Amihai Way, in memory of Lieutenant Yaakov Shimshon Amichai Mechavia, killed in combat during the Second Lebanon War, the 1st of Av. Av is the Hebrew month. 5766 in the Second Lebanon War. This was built with the assistance of the Falek family in honor of Shmuel Moshe Falek's bar mitzvah and the 60th anniversary of the State of Israel in 2008. So Amichai Mechavia was killed in 2006. And we won't do the whole thing right now, but we'll get a look at some of this path that was made in memory of Amihai. Why? Just a second. There's something interesting here. There might be an English language presentation, audio presentation. So we'll go and take a look at that. And here there's a little sitting area where we can bring a group and we can sit down and tell the story of Eli and of Amihai Mechavia. And here is another memorial sign for all of the soldiers who were killed in this battle in Lebanon. And those were also Colonel Roy Klein, who was also a resident of this town, Alexander Schwarzman, who was also a colonel, Amichai Mechavia, Shimon Dahan, Ehud Klozner, Idan Cohen, Shimon Adga, Asaf Namer, and in memory of two additional members of the Chod, Machleket Chod, who were killed, Yosef Abudbul and Tamer Amar. Okay, and now we're going to go over to this stone. Here is a photo of Amihai Mechavia, and we're going to press. There are 3 recordings here. One is about what we see around us in Hebrew. One is about the battle at Binj Jabil, and this is the recording in English. So let's hear what this says.
Shalom. You are on the Amihai Trail that carries the name of Amihai Mechavia of blessed memory. Amihai, son of this community of Eli, fell in the Battle of Binjbil during the Second Lebanon War. Amihai was born in 1982 in the Sinai community of Talmei Yosef to Tova and Moshe during the campaign to stop Israel's withdrawal from the Sinai Peninsula. The family resettled in Eli when Amihai was 2 years old. It was here in the Samarian hills where he grew up, received his education, breathed the clean and pure mountain air of his beloved Eretz Israel, and often hiked the wide open trails. His high school years were spent at Jerusalem's Merkaz Arav Yeshiva High School. He combined his studies with active leadership in the Bnei Akiva youth movement in the Musrara neighborhood in Jerusalem and here in Eli. His friend Elchanan Nir wrote about this period in Amichai's life. We were a group of teenagers with big ideas and revolutionary aspirations who sought a quiet place in which to learn, ponder, and question. We would talk all the time about critical issues. And Amihai, with his blue eyes and unyielding quest for the truth, would ask and question and seek that which was right and true, even if the answers were not easy to accept. And to watch him study, completely engaged with calm and confidence, as if the world had indeed been created for him. When he studied, that was everything. His modesty and quiet demeanor did not prevent him from creating and organizing an endless number of important initiatives. We began to meet regularly in a workshop for creative writing that I led, and Amihai, unsurprisingly, invested time reading and writing sensitive and touching texts. For he was, in every sense, a man of broad horizons, who read constantly. Later, Amihai continued his post-high school studies at the Merkaz Harav Yeshiva, where he also volunteered with the Kav L'Chaim organization, helping children with cancer. In March 2003, Amihai began basic training in the Golani Brigade and volunteered to serve in the 51st Battalion. He wanted to follow in the footsteps of his good friend Shmuel Weiss, who served in this battalion and fell in battle in Jenin during Operation Defensive Shield in 2002. Amihai viewed his service as a mission to serve both as a soldier and later on as an officer. In his book, From the Desert to Lebanon, Asael Lubotsky, who served together with Amihai in basic training and was serving as a company commander when he was seriously injured in the war, wrote about his friend Amihai. Amihai, a soulmate whom I shall never forget. Your image is engraved in my consciousness. Modesty, clinging to the truth, love of Torah, original and deep thinking, emotional strength, love for the people and the land, true friendship, a respected soldier and officer. An authentic and captivating smile always spread across your face, and there is no one who can stand up to your personal charisma and pure character. He was a man true to his beliefs, as was displayed in a tough letter he sent to the Chief of Staff. In it, he protested against the transfer of Jewish residents from Gush Katif and northern Samaria and the destruction of their communities that later took place in the summer of 2005. Following this letter, he was to be suspended from duty as a commander for a year, but after only 3 months he returned to his command, following pressure his fellow officers put on the Army's top command to have him reinstated. The Second Lebanon War broke out in the summer 2006, following an attack by the Hezbollah on an IDF patrol on Israel's northern border. After 10 days of fighting, it became clear that IDF aerial bombardments of Hezbollah enemy positions would not determine the war, and the IDF commenced with a ground offensive. The Golani Division, including Battalion 51, was brought from the Gaza front and took part in the division attacks against the village of Binjbel. During the early morning hours of Rosh Chodesh Av, the 26th of July 2006, Battalion 51 moved toward the village, with Company 3 bringing up the rear guard. At a certain point, the battalion was ordered to split forces, with Amichai leading the spearhead unit to uncover enemy hideouts. As his unit attempted to enter a fortified building, Hezbollah opened heavy fire on the troops, and an intensive battle ensued for over 11 hours. Amichai, who led the charge against Hezbollah positions, was first hit by 2 bullets in the hand, and then sustained mortal injuries when an enemy grenade exploded next to him. This battle also took the lives of another 7 soldiers and officers. Following the intensive battle, which included many acts of heroism and bravery, the enemy was defeated and the injured were removed to safety. The shelling slowly died down, and at nightfall the 8 dead soldiers were removed from the village by their fellow soldiers, who marched them out on foot. Company 3 then returned to combat alongside their comrades in Battalion 51 until the war ended. The day after the battle, Amichai was buried in the military section of the cemetery in Eli, facing Tel Shiloh, the ancient site where the tabernacle resided for hundreds of years, with the Sumerian hills spread before it. The community of Eli was established in 1984, close to the road upon which our forefathers walked from Shechem to Jerusalem. This region is full of fascinating Jewish history from biblical times until today. The community carries the name of Eli, the last priest that resided in the nearby village of Shiloh. Eli is characterized by its desire to become a large urban community, welcoming all sectors of Jewish society in Israel. Looking southeast, the community of Shiloh can be seen. In the book of Judges, it is told that the Philistines destroyed the community and captured the tabernacle. Looking southwest is the community of Ma'ale Levonah. It was in this region that Judah Maccabee led the battle against Apollonius, the Greek general of the region of Samaria. On the mountain ridge in front of us, the Maccabees ambushed the Greek army and defeated it. All these heroic and fascinating biblical stories helped to shape the values that guided the life of Amichai Mechavia. May his memory be blessed.
Well, I'm glad that we had the opportunity to hear the story of Amichai Mechavia and his heroic battalion in the protection of the people of Israel. And now we're going to just get a quick look at the commercial center, and that will be it till our next video. commercial center is split up into two main buildings. The building here to our right that has some stores and service offices, and the newer building on this side, and the Matnas, the community center in the middle, which is half completed, and now the second part of the building is in planned and about to begin. The construction is about to begin on the second building for the community center. See in the front of us a little office for the local police, the commercial center and new development that's taking place here, and the commercial center and the offices. All right, my friends, thank you for being with me, and I look forward to hearing your input. Check out some more videos on my channel. Be well.